Am I the a-hole for telling my son's fiance that I don't like him? My son 25M used to get bullied a lot in middle and halfway through high school by his now fiance, Ray 25M. I remember my son would come home every day crying because of how badly Ray would treat him. No matter how many times I went to the school, Ray's behavior never seemed to change. The final straw was when my son came home in full-on tears and started begging me to change schools. My son told me that during class, Ray was making fun of his mom and brother's deaths. This pissed me off. I went to the school the next day and demanded to have a meeting with the principal and with the teacher whose class my son was in at the time. Luckily, the teacher was able to confirm what Ray said along with multiple witnesses from the students who were in the class during that time. Long story short, this caused Ray to be suspended from school, and I enrolled my son in a different school from the middle of sophomore year to his senior year. My son seemed happy and started making more friends because he wasn't getting picked on every damn day. When my son graduated, he decided to go to college out of state. He told me that he wanted to do this so he could start fresh and try to be more outgoing. Anyway, I was not informed that Ray went to the school too until my son was 21 and told me that he finally wanted me to meet his boyfriend. I was excited as he always talked about his boyfriend but was very minimal. At the time he wanted to introduce me to him. They had already been dating for 1.5 years. My son came home with his boyfriend for Christmas break and I was finally introduced to him. When I saw my son walk through the door I was happy, but my happiness faded away when I saw Ray. I asked my son why he would bring that boy to my house, and he told me that he just wanted me to meet Ray and that he had changed and apologized for his behavior. I told him that I didn't give a damn about his changed behavior and that I wanted him gone. My son started begging me to at least give them a chance because he's starting to like Ray and he wants me to meet the nice side of him. I tried my best to be nice to Ray, but looking back I honestly was not on my best behavior and was not nice to him, but parents make mistakes. Since then, I've been trying my hardest to be civil towards him, and it's hard because whenever he speaks I just get annoyed. My son started to commend me for finally being nice to Ray, and in February of 23 my son finally told me that Ray proposed to him. I was so upset because I've been praying for them to break up, but it seemed that my prayers were never answered. I still don't understand why my son would even consider marrying Ray after everything he put him through, and it still makes me upset. The problem is yesterday my son and Ray came over to my house, and after a while, my son left because he had to go to the bank and for some odd reason Ray's ass decided to stay. When my son left I just started watching TV and Ray and I were sitting in silence. Then Ray started speaking to me, and he started talking about his wedding coming up and thanked me for paying for it. I told him it was no problem, and then I started watching TV again. We sat in silence again until he asked me if he could ask me a question. I told him that he could, and then he told me that he feels like I dislike him, which was not a question, so that just pissed me off again. I told him that he was feeling correct and that I don't like him at all. He then asked me if I ever will, and I told him that I doubt it. After that, he kinda left me alone and we just sat in silence until my son finally came back. Cut to later that night, a couple of hours after my son and Ray had left, my son called me crying and told me that I hurt Ray's feelings by what I said. He told me that it was fucked up, and that he just wants us to get along. He said that he was past everything that was done to him, and he just wants me to be happy for him. I told him that I was sorry for making him cry as I didn't intend it, but I told him that I don't like Ray and I probably never will. I told him that I can't forget everything he's done. I told him that I was the one who watched him come home and cry every fucking day because of him, and he had to move schools just to get away from him. I told him that he deserves way better than Ray, and I'm honestly upset that he's marrying him. I told him that if it'll make him feel better I'll talk to Ray and apologize to him. He told me that it would, and he gave the phone to Ray and I practically had to lie and tell him that I was sorry for hurting his feelings and that I like him as a person and that I'm glad he's marrying my son because he makes him happy. Everything I said was a lie and I only said it to make my son happy. I'm fucking mad. Although I apologized, I still don't think I did anything wrong because I only told him what he asked. Am I the a-hole here?